it's really exciting for me to host the first of our Women's Month webinar discussions, where we would like to discuss success, women, the issues around women, looking at the broader world picture, what women is achieving over the next couple of weeks, skills you need to know to be successful. And I really hope that although August is Women's Month and a focus on women, that the conversation will continue way beyond August 2016, and that we help you today, and that we can make a difference to maybe the way you think you do your business or you do life. So I just want to tell everyone, this is my first webinar, which proves you're never too old to do something for the first time. So, with technology is amazing, but things might go wrong, and then we'll just have to deal with it like we do in our lives when things go wrong. I have with me today the wonderful Nadine Todd from Entrepreneur Magazine. I'm going to introduce her just now to you. But what I want to say is, whoever's online, if you want to give us feedback, if you want to ask questions, it's always great to know what you want to know, so that we can answer those and can really add benefit to you guys. Otherwise, we're just talking, and it's difficult to know what people want to know when you're preparing these webinars. So tell us what you want to know, tell us the questions, and give us the feedback. I just thought first I'm going to introduce myself to, so I just want to see how we change the slides here. Okay, here we go. Just a little bit of background about myself. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm passionate about entrepreneur. I'm passionate about business. I believe the only way we make a real difference to the world and the people we serve is through our structures of business. I have been very successful in the medical healthcare field, sold my business a couple of years ago, and what I'm doing now is I'm spending my time helping and investing my time and money in entrepreneurial businesses that we can take global, that will make a difference to not just our country, but we can plan a global village. I strongly believe South Africa and South Africans have a huge role to play in making a difference to the world, and we need to be able to play on that world stage. My strengths really is strategy, solution seeking, marketing, branding. This is what I contribute to businesses. I'm passionate to see women succeed and people in general succeed, and and I really think big in many ways, and sometimes just those small stuff that challenge me the most in my life. I'm also philanthropy involved with Tech Attacks. I work with the Virgin Unite group, where we help through donations through making a difference to the real poor people of the world. I love to travel, experience adventures, but I think my most important role is that one of mother to my 8-year-old son and 10-year-old daughter, which some days I think it's easier to build a global business than to take the challenges of motherhood on. So just to get then through Nadine, who is I'm going to read her resume, which is quite amazing. Nadine's been the editor of Entrepreneur Magazine since 2010. Entrepreneur Magazine, I'm sure everybody knows Entrepreneur Magazine. I read it every month. I love the magazine. So she's involved also in the two sister companies, Think Sales Corporation and the Smart Company Networks, that works on a number of projects. Nadine describes a work team, a small, lean team that gets a lot done on a day-to-day basis. So we've learned to be incredibly efficient at everything they do, while still maintaining top quality. This means that although we have titles, our roles are extensive, which I love, there's always something new, challenging, and exciting happening. Nadine says she's passionate about business and entrepreneurship, and is regularly involved in judging business plans, competition, hosting roundtable discussions, participating in radio and TV shows, and speaking on the topic of entrepreneurship. Above all of that, Nadine's also a mother of 2 very young children. I think you just returned from maternity leave, Nadine.
Yeah,
you have
in the office for 4 months.
Wow, yeah. And then you have another one under 2, I think you said, or about 2 years of age.
8 months and 2 years old, yeah.
Okay. So also many roles to fill. Welcome. It's awesome to talk to you. We're going to talk about how we deal with all these different roles we have, and how you cope with all of the stuff, so we can help other women. So I just want to say from myself, I love your magazine. There's so much to learn every month. I chose this slide with these specific people that you have on the front covers because I know them all. I spent some time with them, and they're really amazing people making a difference to their industries and to what they're doing. So I just thought I would share their slides with, and I can share some of my friends. That's amazing to be on the front cover of your magazine. So we've had August Women's Month a couple of days ago. I went away with my kids to our game farm. You know, to me it's important to teach them Africa, love for nature, love for our country. And for the first time, I think 4 years, they actually sit still on a game drive, and it was probably the biggest Mother's Day gift to me. What did you do on our Women's Day gift to me that my perseverance paid off? What did you do on Women's Day, Nadine?
I was unfortunately very ill. So myself and my son were in bed, and I was still trying to mother the 8-month-old. So that was my fun day. I really learned what it means to be sick mom. First time that's happened.
Moms don't get sick.
Yeah, well, this one hasn't yet. That was quite it was a fun experience. Because obviously my son was sick, so that was fine. He slept when I wished I was sleeping. But my 8-month-old daughter was very healthy and wanting to be loved and entertained. So, yeah, and unfortunately, my mom was away and my husband was away, so it was just me and the kiddies. Yeah.
Wow. So thank you for being here. Thank you for getting better that you could be here to join. I just want to quickly, before we start the discussion, also want to thank you and introduce Wealth Migrate, who's our sponsor, who just want to give you some background around Wealth Migrate. Is the first global online real estate or property investment company. It was founded in Cape Town, but now has offices in Hong Kong, Australia, China, USA. And I'm a fairly large shareholder also in Wealth Migrate and helping the guys scaling the business and helping with strategy. But what's most important or exciting to me about Wealth Migrate is, although what I found is real estate or property is really, really a male-dominated industry, and there's very few women making their mark, and probably more and more as we go along, both on owning real estate companies or even investing in real estate. And I'm doing both because through Wealth Migrate I was able to build up a nice sizable global real estate portfolio. But the passion the guys have to help women, to help to teach women to be successful in investing, in building portfolios, that I commend them. And they really convinced me that we should do this through Wealth Migrate, through the platform, to start talking to women and create a movement of women that can be successful in life, in business, and the investments. So really thank you, Scott, and your team, Jenny, who helped setting up, and for the marketing, Kevin, who's on the other line helping us control the meeting. Thank you so much for doing this and convincing me to to do this. You know, it was just one event. Initially, it was just one of those things, oh my word, another thing to do. But now I'm happy that I'm so glad that we're doing it, and we're going to continue a couple of conversations over the next few weeks. So why women and wealth? We chose the topic because wealth and success and business, entrepreneurship are really topics women do not often engage in. And it's changing over time, and I'm sure it's going to change faster. But I believe that if we make it okay for women to talk about the stuff we're struggling with, to ask the questions that we need to know, then we can really make an impact and make a difference and grow our businesses. So, and if we just look, you know, currently the world is probably the most exciting place for women. The stereotype jobs are not there anymore. Women can pretty much do whatever they want to do, whatever they set their mind to do. so-called glass ceilings hopefully is busy. I'm now going to talk to you about that a little bit later, Nadine. The age ceiling, where women is achieving things on ages unheard of. You know, we're going to live longer, we're going to work longer. 60 is now the new 30 and 100 is the new 60. So things for women is changing so fast that I think it's time to have conversations and to talk about it and help women who want to get there but are not always sure how to grow themselves. Women around the world is playing massive contributions to economies, to businesses, and I just want to, I thought before we get to the South African context, let's just look at what's happening in the world, because maybe that will give you more confidence in knowing where the world's going. Sorry about that. So currently, if we look at China, out of 10 self-made billionaires are now coming out of China. This is an economy we don't really hear good things about, or there's some, but China is growing, is the world's biggest economy. Women are playing a massive role in growing that economy. And since with Migrate in China, we got to learn the Chinese culture, it's really interesting to see that the men are the ones taking care of the household, taking care of the kids, so that the women, and really, really supportive of the women making a success. And, you know, for me, it's amazing to see this, because I believe when women get to the point of success and there's more successful role models, it will be okay for more women to think that it's okay to be successful. In USA, we have the same statistics. We're currently over 50% of the nation's wealth is controlled by women, and predictions are by 2020 this will increase by 2/3. So another world economy that will really have powerful women and women controlling the nation's wealth, and then I believe we'll see the tipping scale of women making a difference, and it will flow over to the rest of the world if the two biggest economies really have women running it. You know, I'm studying in business strategy. You really need to know the trends in business and to see where the world's going. And one of the waves currently that we will hit us, or is hitting us, is that by 2020, the prediction is there'll be 1 billion entrepreneurs on the planet. A growth from currently about 600,000 to 400 million more entrepreneurs on the planet will be globally. Africa, South Africa is set to be the biggest growth of that number, purely because unemployment and people are needing to start their own thing, and also just general dissatisfaction of how they work, of employment. So we will see entrepreneurs, the number of entrepreneurs growing radically over the next couple of years. And it just makes sense to me that there'll be more and more women doing that, because of the nature of women, the different roles we need to play, and having your own business and being an entrepreneur probably suit women much better. What we do see, though, in our economy, and I'm going to get down and then Nadine's going to take over the conversation, is there is this gap between men and women. There's a gender gap. Currently, and if you look at comparative numbers, South Africa is low comparing to men and women, but the fact remains that currently in South Africa, over 50% of our workforce is women. But if we look at the wealth, women control less than 1% of the wealth in this country. So something is happening from people entering the workforce to those that's achieving the wealth or the financial success that still sits in the hands of men, which could be it's neither good nor bad, but I want to pose the questions: why is that? You know, this picture of the male-female gap, Nadine, I think you mentioned, you know, your criteria for cover is the 100 million rand business, and you get very few women pitched to you. I just noticed this picture. Someone wrote an article on, again, the gap in the real estate industry, and as a matter of fact, I think they mentioned 3 women that plays a role, and I was one of those women that's really trying to close the gap in a very male-dominated industry. But Nadine, over to you. Tell us about your observations. You deal with entrepreneurs. You see the businesses. You get pitched the round tables. You see the business plans. Talk to me about, in South Africa, what you notice.
So, yeah, Hilda, like you mentioned, this is something that we're very conscious of. We meet a lot of incredible female entrepreneurs. We feature a lot of incredible female entrepreneurs in the magazine, but very few of them are running high impact large organizations. We find that like you mentioned, our cover criteria, one of the cover criteria is we like businesses that are 100 million plus. This just speaks a lot to our cover lines. We've learned over the years that our readers want to know how people are getting to the larger businesses. We've got other criteria, but that's one of them, and it's one that we find very few females certainly are being pitched to us. They must be out there, but we're struggling to find them. And that's also, I think, an interesting side of this, because is it that men are more PR savvy? Are they better at pushing themselves forward and putting themselves out there? I think as women, we know that we're not as good at accepting praise and going out and finding praise and waving a flag and saying, look at what I'm doing. And in the entrepreneurial world, you actually have to be good at that. It's part of your personal branding. It's part of your company branding. And I think men, I don't know if it's decades of being more comfortable doing that, so that male-run businesses are more noticeable because they're able to step out and say, look at us, this is what we're doing, we're good at it, we're passionate about it, and we want to tell you our story, whereas women are maybe used to being more in the background and doing their thing and running their businesses and not necessarily finding the PR savvy to get their story out there. But whatever it is, we don't get a lot of these businesses coming our way. And I've actually got a great example. Yesterday I was at an event, and I was chatting to a guy whose business partner is a woman who runs a 100 million rand business. I had never heard of her. I'm the editor of a business magazine, and I have been for 6 years, and I had never heard of her or her company. And yet here's this 100 million rand business that I'm now going to be investigating, believe me. So it just was a great example to me of how we just don't hear of these stories, even though we're actively looking for them.
Do you think there's anything you can do as a media, the getting the voice out there to women? Is there anything you guys can do or can do different in the future to get women to be more open about it?
I think, we do try to put our feelers out to all the entrepreneurial organizations, Entrepreneurs Organization, EO, Endeavour. We are always on the lookout for great female entrepreneurs. I think the best thing we can do is help women by educating them that it's okay to blow your own horn. Obviously this webinar has made me think about these things a lot as well. And that's one of the things that kind of keeps coming up, is that we're just naturally not very good at that. Some women are, but they're few and far between, and then those become the go-to women. The women that you always hear about that are kind of always at the events because they are good at it. There's one woman who comes to mind, Kate Woodley. She's a Discovery franchisee. She is a big believer in the power of your personal brand, and she actually wrote a book about personal branding. And she comes up a lot because she really understands the power of personal branding, and she's able to talk about it. So she's a good example of someone who understands that world, is very good at articulating that world, and because of that, you hear about her a lot. I think there are probably, for every one Kate, 20 other women who are the opposite and are very bad at speaking about themselves and putting themselves out there and showcasing their wins and their successes. So I think we need to help on that side and educate more around that. I think we need to say it's okay to put yourself out there and discuss your wins and show people the kinds of successes you're having. And then I also just think we need to understand that this is still a very male-driven sector. Seed Academy did their 2016 startup survey. Their results are saying 1 in every 3 businesses is a woman-led business, so a third. Our own readership from our surveys is about 70% male, 30% female. So I think in general there are fewer female businesses maybe. I do think that's going to be changing. I think that figure's growing. But I just think naturally there are fewer female entrepreneurs out there as well.
I've listened to a very interesting TED talk a while ago, and it all starts with exactly what you're saying, that it starts how we were, the conversations that had with girl children as we grow up versus the conversations with boys as they grow up. And even if I speak through their fathers and their mothers or role models, and even if I ask my male friends, so are you having conversations with your daughter about leadership, about business, about money? And they're like, no, why? You know, I said, but you're having it with your sons. So this takes the fact that when women grow up, there's about a third of our conversations that we should have, that we never had as we grow up. And around more of the harder life skills that men has. And for men and boys, never has the conversations with about nurturing, listening, you know, the softer skills that comes naturally to women. So I think that's a big lesson potentially when we have, for our children, for us that raise our children, to have the discussions with daughters that you typically would have with boys and vice versa. So that the next generation can be more rounded people where men has the softer skills and girls has the leadership skills to be able to be, at least be okay.
I agree with you completely.
To that. So when we're in a world where women hasn't had those conversations, I think it might be an opportunity, or it might be important for them to go and seek people where they can have those conversations with, where it's okay. You know, where they don't feel like people look down on them or they feel stupid to ask the questions. So seek environments where you can have those conversations, you can learn. And because, like you just said, it's extremely important to get, if you're doing amazing things through a business, you should get the word out there. People should know about it because you know what you're doing. And it doesn't make you, I think for the first time I was like that, and I would never wanted to talk about Masterclass until I got to America at a conference, at a networking, and then I realized, oh my gosh, if I don't do it, you know, I'm going to just like fade and nobody else is going to do it for me. And that's sort of where I got over my issues on talking about success and you know, and found that it is okay. And the people that lift their eyebrows, you know, that maybe they're not the people that should hear me. But I think if more women are okay with having discussions, or seek women out, or people out to have those discussions with.
Absolutely. You know, there's a author, Donald Rachelson. She wrote a book, and I might get the title slightly incorrect here, but I think it's What Women Can Learn from Men in the Boardroom. And it's quite a controversial title, and it's deliberately controversial. But I agree with the idea behind it that women don't only need to learn from women. I think women need to support women. We need to be a lot more supportive of each other in the workplace. But I think there's some things we can learn from men as well. And one of those is exactly what we're talking about right now. Women networking groups are excellent and they're important and they should exist. But I think women should also be going to entrepreneurial and business networking groups and watch how men interact with each other, watch how they network, watch how they get up and talk about their businesses and the way they pitch their businesses, because those are skills that we need to start internalizing as well. And I think, you know, an example that always comes to mind are the founders of the Creative Council, Ran Neuner and Gil Oved. They are masters at this, absolute masters. And the end result is that you actually just end up having huge respect for what they've achieved because they're so passionate. No one turns around and goes, oh my gosh, look at how they're talking about their business. You think they're fantastic and you want to hear more. So, and if someone, like you mentioned earlier, rolls their eyes at what you're saying, well, those aren't people you need in your life or to be talking to about your business anyway. Walk away from them. There are far more, I would say, intelligent, savvy, and supportive people out there.
And you know, you used a great example of two really, I want to say, youngsters in typically in the world of business making, you know, starting their business for R1 billion, and now using that money to make a real difference. We just set up a
Yeah.
tech fund. They involved and to help tech entrepreneurs, disruptive technologies in Africa, South Africa. So they're doing really good and everybody wants to hear more. How did they do it? So you're 100%
Exactly.
correct
Everyone
in
wants to
learning.
hear their story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that brings me exactly to where I want to talk about equality. What is equality? Will we ever gain it? Because I know you speak to women and they feel that there's so much inequality. I've personally not really ever experienced it and maybe I just don't notice it because I don't want to have that in my life. But and my belief is that that it's not the one gender over the other one. It's men and women, and we need to actually get to a point where we see each other as equals, learn from each other, and grow our businesses or make a difference to the world, the planet, its people together, instead of competing that men's better than women, women's better than men. And all we do is the ones getting leg over the other gender, and if men are disempowered, they're going to lash back and then and it's just going to be a different imbalance. What is your opinion? I mean, you see it in the world, and in the boardrooms, do you reckon we're getting to a place of equality? What is your opinion on that?
Yeah, it's obviously it's a difficult and a hot topic. I have
Yeah.
never personally felt it. Like you said, I haven't personally felt it. I haven't worked in a very corporate environment. I've always worked for entrepreneurs. So in small companies where I have men under me, not over me. My direct report has always been a woman, believe it or not. So I haven't personally felt this. I sometimes wonder if I'm really a product of my generation, that all the strong fighting for female equality has happened and I get to reap the rewards of that. That these amazing women before me have knocked out that glass ceiling and I really just get to enjoy not having to worry too much about gender equality. I've certainly never felt it holds me back in any way. But maybe, like you said, it goes back to also how I was brought up. I was never brought up to feel like there was anything I couldn't do. I had a father who had 2 daughters, so by the time we were in high school, we were learning how to drop Beetle engines. We each got a Beetle because that was a car that we could service ourselves. So my dad's way of getting around having boys was to just go, oh, well, you're going to learn everything I would have taught them anyway. So, you know, this was never something that actually impacted my life. I'd always just thought, whatever I want to do, I can do. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the feminine sides of myself and the things that make me me, and I'm going to use those to the best of my ability. So I think that's kind of shaped the way that I look at the world. I don't think men and women are the same. I think it's okay that we're not the same. I think we're better working together. I know that I've seen some of the strongest business partnerships are often men and women because they bring different things to the table. And I think those are the things we should be focusing on. When I saw this slide earlier, it made me laugh because I thought, well, who are these men sitting around a table trying to keep women out? I think they certainly existed years ago. Maybe they still do exist. I don't know. But I don't think there's the same kind of big conspiracy that we think. I think it's very much our attitude. If we have a strong attitude that this is what we want, you know, we used to call them, I worked years ago for a transport magazine, so trucking magazine, very male dominated. And there were the little lady men, the men that would call any woman a little lady. They're becoming dinosaurs. You know, a few of them are still around, but really, I don't even think anyone takes them seriously anymore. You nod and you smile and you be a bit respectful, and then you almost kind of ignore them. And I see that more and more moving forward. You know, younger guys certainly have learned from the classroom already. I think most of us were taught girls can be smarter than boys, and we can do anything that you can do. And I do think this is now permeating into the workspace.
Which is quite amazing that the newer or the younger generations now into entering into more senior positions or their own businesses can actually now have a voice in saying we don't want to do it the way our grandfathers, did life or did
Absolutely.
businesses. Yeah. And I think
Absolutely.
what I experience is from the older generations is they really want to embrace women, but they're not always sure how to because there was such a big divide, and they were never like had the role models on how do we do this. So it's all that's exactly what you said. It's up to us to show them how we want to be treated and to show them how they can and train them how they can embrace women and treat us as equals. And you're going to get guys that will probably never do it, but luckily
Yes, there will always be. There will always be. I mean, we just need to look at what's happening in the US at the moment to know that some crazy, stereotypical, misogynistic ideas will always exist.
Yeah.
But when you're on the ground and you're doing it, I'm a big believer in relying on yourself and your own drive. I think we can achieve anything we put our minds to. I do think women have to work harder to prove themselves still in a lot of areas. I certainly don't want to say that that isn't the case because I think it is the case. But I also think we need to be conscious of the fact that we don't always want the same things. I have a lot of friends who, one friend comes to mind, she was running the design department in a big four bank. She was moving up the management chain. She left to start her own company because she didn't want to work 18-hour days. She had 2 children. She actually wanted more balance in her life. That was a decision she made. So we can say, okay, well, there aren't enough women in leadership roles, but I also think at certain points women are making key decisions to channel their careers in different ways. Maybe not forever. It might be for now, for this time of my life. And in a few years, that will change, and I will be gearing up for another higher leadership position. But I think that a lot more goes into our decision-making than with men. I think traditionally men have relied on their women to be taking care of home life. We don't have that luxury very often. You hear more and more that men are becoming stay-at-home dads. I think that's wonderful. But the reality is more households are dual income households. I would certainly say more households need to be dual income than single income. So it's not a choice of mom staying at home or dad staying at home. It's we both need to work, we both need to go out there and do it. And yet it's still mom who's worrying about the doctor most of the time and kids to and from school and. So we naturally have to juggle more, and I do think that plays into our decision-making along the way.
I read a quote from Sheryl Sandberg yesterday that says, quite interestingly, is your biggest career decision you'll make is the person you're going to marry one day. So that's quite an interesting, because that's
and coming from her, that's quite a thing. Yeah. I wonder what her husband's like.
So we're just talking about women's different markers for success, and I want to hear your opinion, because you just said a woman left the corporate world starting her own business because we have different decisions, we base our decisions on different things, we have many different roles. Do you want to just maybe expand on that a little bit?
I think it's different for every woman. I think we should all have our own personal markers of what success is and what's important in our life. But I also think that changes. So what's important to you in your early 20s is not necessarily the same as in your late 20s, early 30s, and so on. I'm personally right now in a time of my life, as you mentioned, I have 2 small children. I'm a very ambitious-driven person. I always have been. I'm not afraid of hard work. But right now, I also need some time with my children. I don't want to miss that. It's going to pass quickly and it's going to be gone. So now is not the time when I would also choose to do my MBA, for example. If I was in a corporate environment, it probably wouldn't be the time where I'd be pushing for a higher promotion. That will come a bit later. We see with entrepreneurs that a lot of women start companies for a bit of flexibility as well. And then as their children grow older or something changes, their goals suddenly change. And another example from yesterday was a woman, she's been running a great business. And then she went through a very messy divorce, and suddenly that business has quadrupled in size over the last 2 years. Wow. Her goals have completely shifted. It went from this is my business and I love it and I enjoy it, to this is my business, this is my livelihood, this is what the legacy I'm leaving for my son, and now I'm really starting to focus on that 40 million, 50 million, who knows, maybe 100 million rand turnover. So she has completely shifted what she's doing and how she's looking at business in the last 2 years because her circumstances changed. So I think
as our lives evolve, our goals evolve, our markers for success will evolve.
Absolutely. And I think
And
that's
it's
okay. I think it's allowed to be fluid. I don't think everything has to be set in stone, and I don't think everything that's bigger is necessarily better. I think you need to sit down and work out what do you want to achieve. Um, if you can work smarter and get great margins off a smaller business, you might be better off than someone who's working themselves to death, has a huge turnover and teeny tiny margins, and actually isn't taking that much home at the end of the day. Is this your retirement plan? Do you need to sell your business? Because that's a very different business to one that you're almost a consultant getting cash in, but you've got a big RA and you're investing, and you don't necessarily need to sell your business at the end of it. So these are all very different things that you need to be cognizant of, and you need to be plotting and planning as you look at your own goals.
Yeah, that's great advice. Nadine, I've asked some ladies to give me questions on what they would want to know from you if they had the opportunity to speak to you. So I'm just going to go through that because I see um, so what would you say contributes to your success and what is your markers of success?
So I would say, first of all, that on my journey of success, at this stage of my life, I think I'm very fortunate that I have a job that I absolutely love, a role that I love in a company that I love. I'm very passionate about what we do. I think I'm very fortunate that my very I just studied what I loved. I didn't have a big plan, and that has led me to something that I love. So maybe the plan of not having a plan and only doing what I love kind of paid off. But I really enjoy the fact that we're three sister companies and I'm very involved in multiple different things, and my skill base is growing every day. So I would say on that side I'm very fortunate. I would not say that I'm anywhere near where I'm going to be. I think success is a continuous journey. So for me right now, what I'm thankful for is that I'm in a position where I have two beautiful children and I'm able to invest in their education, put money away for my RA. I'm growing my own nest egg. I'm growing the path I want to be on. And in a few years' time, I'm going to be refocusing on probably building my career even further. But yeah, I think the main thing is just, for me, success is that I love what I do. Sometimes it's hard juggling everything, but I manage to spend a few hours with my children each day, most days, and I also get to go to the office and really, really do something I'm passionate about and I love. And where that takes me next is going to be the really exciting and fun thing as well.
So what I hear you say and what gets you through the stressful times is the fact that you're so passionate about what you do and that you absolutely love your company
Yeah.
and love what you do. And I think for a lot of women that's in places chasing success, hating what they're doing, makes life more stressful. Because if you don't like
Absolutely.
or enjoy what you're doing, I don't know how you cope in life and
Absolutely.
how you cope with all the different things. So yeah, so it's maybe finding that thing that you love to do and that you're in your flow, and then the sacrifices or how you juggle it just becomes, it's just life. But you
Yeah,
still
there's a great
love
quote.
it.
I don't know if it's Warren Buffett or it's one of these that's always over and over, and it's find something you love and you'll never work a day in your life, and that to me is a real marker of
Richard
success.
Branson says there's no work and there's no free time. It's all just called life, and we just do what we
Spoken
do.
like a true entrepreneur, yes.
Yeah, life. That's how we do. So the next question I ask is in organizations, so we sort of touched on it, is the glass ceiling. And I don't want to put you on pressure on an organization. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm unemployable for big corporates because I just I don't conform to those rules. But so that gives me freedom to do whatever I want to do and to have balance and not having any barriers. But it also, obviously, I don't have the security of an income every month. I've got to go out and create that. What do you think are the barriers to female leadership?
This is such a difficult one. So Shona Rhimes, she's the creator of Grey's Anatomy and The Fixer. shows.
Love her.
Yeah, she's got an amazing book. It's called The Year of Yes. And one of
Yes.
the things she speaks about there is the glass ceiling. And she was given an award as one of these women in industry who bashed through the glass ceiling. And what she said is, I didn't. I tapped it. And it was already full of cracks because so many women before me had gone flying into this glass ceiling. And I think that we're all in that situation now. Like I said earlier, I feel like I'm the product of so many women before me who have laid the groundwork for me to not actually even really need to be a feminist anymore. It's here. It's there for my taking. I just need to take it. And part of that is knowing what you want, knowing who you are. I would say don't compromise who you are. I think that's part of the problem. We feel like we need to be something else. We feel like we maybe need to be more manly or more of a man or, emulate certain traits that aren't inherently ours. I would say rather be true to who you are and then go out and really fight for what you want and be honest about it and be upfront about it. If there's a glass ceiling in your organization, then maybe that's not the organization for you. If you can leave it, then I would encourage you to leave it. But be very careful about why that glass ceiling is there. Because I think it's easy to default and go, well, I'm a woman, so I'm not getting anywhere. Instead of saying, okay, but hang on, am I doing something that's got nothing to do with my gender that I could be moving further forward? Am I proactively taking what, understanding what my bosses require of me? We always call it managing up. Do you know what would make your boss's life easier, and are you doing it? Because that makes you a valuable employee and someone who your uppers want to promote. If none of that is working for you, go out and start your own business. Take control of your own destiny. I think glass ceilings are there to be broken, but you're the one who is the driving force behind your own energy and your own destiny, and take that responsibility.
Yeah, that's 100% is exactly what I believe. Then we get to your best and worst business decisions. One of those.
Yeah, thankfully I couldn't think of a really worst. I think I've made some bad decisions along the way, and most of them center around too much. Again, I don't know if this is a very female thing. We think we can do everything. We're bad at asking for help. I'm bad at asking for help. I'm bad at stopping and saying, I need help. This is too much. I'll just say, yes, I can do it all. I can do it all. I can do it all.
That's a woman thing. We all do that.
I think so. And what ends up happening is, like what happened to me this week, I get incredibly sick, man down sick, and actually the world didn't end. Everything's continued. I'm back up and I'm catching everything up. So I think I make those small bad decisions along the way where I need to stop and breathe and slow down. Best decision I ever made was two things. The first was really studying what I loved. So I think that has brought me along a path that makes me very happy. What I loved was actually English and history, and I ended up with a master's in history and was almost unemployable because no one knew what it meant. But through that, I got my first copywriting position, which then took me into a junior journalism position. And then the best decision I made was joining Entrepreneur, because this has really shown me, I knew nothing about business before this. I didn't realize how much I would love business and entrepreneurs and how interwoven into the social fabric of society business is. And I now, obviously, am very aware of that. And it's completely changed my outlook on life. So over and above the fact that I love the company and the product and our brand, I just think that I have a new awareness of the world around me that I'll only continue to build on.
Yeah. So for anybody that's listening, would you, I would really like to hear your questions and not just my questions to Nadine. Is there anything that you guys want to know from her? Please post your questions or put your questions on so that we can discuss that and we can make sure you get the answers that you need to know. Nadine, to get back to best and worst decisions, I think sometimes 2020, hindsight's like they say 2020 vision, and you never know when you make the decision if it's going to be a good one or a bad one. So it's only after the event that you think, oh, I could have done something different. And from the bad decisions, you know, I just find out what can you learn from it, never to repeat it, take your lessons out of it, and
Absolutely.
completely forget about. Richard Branson's brilliant at it. You know, he whatever, if something goes wrong or he's failure in his business, they will get together, they take their lessons out of what did we learn, how do we never make sure we never ever repeat this, and then he literally forgets about it. He will not talk about, he will not think. And I think very often women, we ponder and we
Oh
think
my gosh, yes.
and
Overanalyze and go back and turn it
overanalyze,
over
and
and over.
you know, where we get where men would say, oh, that just stuff happens. And we will say, you know, we did something wrong, or it was us and we the failure. And so maybe just move away from we the failure into, you know, it happened. Maybe it was a lesson we need to learn, and it gets us onto
Forward.
to the next road. And the most important for me is we made a decision. At least we made a decision to do something
Yes,
about it.
absolutely. I think there's something around that as well. The best decision you can make is the best decision. The second best decision you can make is any decision. The worst decision you can make is no decision. So,
Love it.
and I think that's something I'm certainly guilty of. I will way up, way up, way up. Sometimes you just need to go for it, and then yeah, if it
Miss
doesn't work,
whatever.
analyze it and move on. Learn from it and move on. Yeah.
So as a child, what was your dream? Was this your dream job?
It was to be a marine biologist. I think a lot of kids have that one, be a marine
Yeah.
biologist.
Okay.
Then I realized I didn't really like biology, and it was a lot of biology. So what I've always been a voracious reader. I loved English and I loved history. So I just studied those, and I suppose I just trusted in the universe that it would bring me something where I could use those skills, and that's what happened.
That's
So
amazing. Yeah. Ask and you shall get. Hey, just be careful what you ask for, they
yes,
say.
absolutely, absolutely. You
Yeah.
need to know your own mind, I think.
Yeah. What woman inspires you? Or not woman necessarily, who inspires you?
So there are so many people who inspire me. My grandmother, one, she has an amazing ability for forgiveness and capacity for forgiveness that I've always found quite incredible. Um, and then Shona Rhimes, who I mentioned earlier, she's got this philosophy in life of just you are the architect of your own destiny, and everything is in your control. You just have to make the decision to do it. And the way she unpacks that and thinks about it, I find quite incredible. So over and above the fact that she's incredibly successful and she creates these amazing things and shows that people love, she's
Yeah,
just
they
really
say
got this.
she owns Thursday night's TV on the stage. So
Yes,
this is a great achievement for any
it's an
woman.
unbelievable achievement. Yeah, any woman, a black woman, I I think she says, you know, she's one of these first but different. She's been given all of these awards for breaking glass ceilings. But when you listen to her talking through her book, it was never her plan. That's not what she was trying to do. She was just trying to do what she loved, and she was trying to do it really well. And then somewhere along the line, she realized, well, people are now watching me and looking to me for direction and for inspiration. And I think she had to start thinking about, okay, well, what is it? How did I get here? What do I do? And she's just got this incredible well of discipline, self-discipline, motivation, that she is the architect of her own destiny. And I love that idea. I'm very inspired by the way she looks at the world. And then really, I get to meet inspiring people every single day. This is one of the, you know, you think South Africa, there's so much doom and gloom in newspapers. And on a weekly basis, I'm doing the exact opposite. I'm meeting some entrepreneur who's just overflowing with passion and inspiration and wanting to change the world. And I just think you don't need to look to the game changers for that inspiration. It's all around you. It's in everyone
Yeah,
getting up and doing their thing every day. You just need to actually be wanting to find it and looking for the positive.
that's beautiful. So as a young woman, well, not a generation or so younger than me, what would you say would be your generation of your millennials and the next one's biggest challenge that they'll face?
I really thought about this one as well. I think what we think people are going to face and what they end up facing tends to not be the same. What I would, so I thought about what I want to encourage in my own daughter, and that's on the one hand that she can do anything. She can be anything. She can do anything. The world is her oyster. But on the other, I don't want her to forget that she's a girl. I think it's beautiful to be a girl. I don't think a little girl has to be a little boy. I think that there is incredible strength in the fact that she's a woman, and she should really love that and appreciate it. So I would say, you know, for millennials going forward, and there's so much, we're so busy trying to make everything the same and everyone the same, and girls and boys are all the same. And I think we forget sometimes that it's actually, there's something beautiful in a man and there's something beautiful in a woman, and we can be that. You know, as much as I said that, you know, we grew up fixing cars and all kinds of things, my husband can change the damn tire on my car. I'm not going to do it. I can, but I don't want to. And, you know, he's the man, so he has to. And I pull that card and I use that card. So I think, you know, boys also have to sometimes fall into these gender stereotypes. And stereotypes are bad, but I also think we can celebrate the fact that, you know, we are different, and we should be using those differences for, it's okay, and use them for something great, instead of using them to tear people down and trying to say, well, we all need to be the same.
I think I just want to add for the older generations, the Xers and the boomers, that we need to understand we're going to live longer. I mean, that they say the person that's going to live to 150 has already been born. So we're going to live longer. We're going to possibly want to work longer and be economically active a little bit longer out of need or want. But with that comes the new generations that's changing the world so fast. Change over the next 4 or 5 years are going to be quicker and faster in the technology and digital space than it happened over the last 20 years. So we need to reskill, unlearn old skills, and be able to learn the new things to still stay relevant, because even doesn't matter that we're older, we can still add a lot of experience to the whole mix, but we cannot become relevant in this whole conversation.
No, I agree completely. I think there's space for everyone.
Yeah. So then I just want to quickly see what's going on here. So a lot of questions I get, I want to just quickly touch on it so we can just have our opinion on it, is do you think there's work-life balance, and how do we achieve it? Because women, that's all women are struggling with.
Ariana Huffington, so the founder of Huffington Post, she always says, yes, you must have balance. It's so important. I like what you said earlier, Richard Branson's, there's no work, there's no home, there's life. I think balance is it's a tenuous thing that you need to be constantly working on. I think saying I'm going to spend X amount of time here and X amount of time there is unrealistic. I think you need to just be present. So when you're at work, be at work. When you're at home, be at home. I go home and I shut everything off until 8, and then I'm back online. I want to be with my children when I'm with my children, and then I'm available again in the evenings. I think that's really important. When we go on holiday, we try to go into the bush where there is no connectivity, so we're really present with each other. And I think that's a way to be happy. So you can work incredibly, incredibly hard, but then take the time to breathe. You know, I see in Joburg, and I think in Cape Town as well, more and more guys aren't necessarily going and playing golf anymore. They're cycling in the mornings. And it's very normal for an entrepreneur to only get to the office at 9 because he's gone and done this long cycle and whatever else is happening in his life. But then he's at work and he's present, and everything he has is going into it. And I think that's the best way to achieve balance, is just, you don't need to be clocking in 5 to 8, 8 to 5. But you do need to be doing multiple things that make you happy, and your career needs to be one of those, but there need to be personal aspects as well.
Yeah. How, so I just want to see, there's some questions coming up. I'm just going to quickly try and access those. Guilt. I think the burden of every woman. How do you deal? Do you have guilt? No, I've had
I
to
think
learn that.
everyone has guilt. I think it's completely unrealistic to think you're not going to have guilt. We call, okay, obviously there's mommy guilt, but I think there are many forms of that. I don't think it's only mothers that have guilt, that you can't always get to everything and be everyone to everyone, everything to everyone. So I think that's one of those, as long as you know you're trying your hardest, there will be times, especially for entrepreneurs, where you aren't seeing your family and your friends. But try and let that period pass where then you really do, and be honest and let everyone know what's happening. I think too many people get scared and they don't want to pick up the phone and say, look, I'm really, really busy, but I haven't forgotten about you. They'd rather just put their head down and work, and then I think it's easy to start making misconceptions based on that. But guilt's a real thing. I think everyone deals with it. It's better to just be honest and open about it.
Yeah, it's true. So I've got a question here. Someone want to ask you. I would like to know if Nadine invests in herself. Does she continually look to improve the way she does things, or does she just learn from everyday things she does?
Both. I have, over the past few years, taken quite a few courses. One of the big ones for me was a management course. I find that in everything I do, putting magazines together is easy. Managing people is hard. So that was something that I put a lot of focus into really learning about. I read a lot. And then I am fortunate that in my job I am constantly learning. So I think if you don't necessarily have a role or position where you're constantly in contact with subject matter experts, you do need to pay more attention to going out and finding that information, whether it's books or joining organizations and having discussions. But I think it's something that needs to happen a bit naturally, but you also need to work at it. Personal development is incredibly important in all aspects of life, and I certainly think it's not something that should ever stop.
Okay, thank you for that answer. Then, do you believe we can really have it all?
I do. I don't know if that's a bit rosy glasses. I do, but I think you also need to, I won't say be realistic about what all is, but at some point you need to stop and say, I'm happy, and be thankful for the fact that you're happy. If you're always aiming for, it's good to aim and be always, trying to improve yourself and find the next thing. But I think too much of that, and you can also always be wanting and never appreciating. So I think you need to define what your all is and what's going to make you happy, and then take the time to stop and be happy.
It's before you start chasing the next thing.
Yeah.
So what I usually get is, you're so lucky. How did you get so lucky? It's so hard for me, and you're just so lucky. Do you get that?
Yeah, hard work.
I've just, initially when I heard people say, oh, she was just lucky, I was like, really? And I got a bit upset because now I realize this is how people see it. And like Gary Player said, the harder you work, the luckier you get.
Exactly.
And so I guess people just don't see that hard, extremely hard work, the long hours you do to get to results. So, and I just want to, I think my message to people is, when you do get to think, oh, she's so lucky, maybe go think about the hard work she does to get lucky. And sure, I'm going to be, and you also going to be a lot luckier in the future, because we work at our luck, in different arenas. So you learn the new skills that you need to take to become lucky.
Absolutely.
So another question someone's asking, and that's also one of the questions I get a lot, is how do you get over the fear of getting started with your own business? I don't know if you have an answer to that one.
I think you need to answer it. I mean, I am employed. I chat to entrepreneurs a lot, but at the end of the day, I am an employee. And I think that fear of starting a business is very real.
So for me, fear is just something your mind conjures up. So I had to, obviously, when you start your own business and initially starting out, fear is something you have to deal with. But now, well, I guess I have no fear, because you make the decisions. You know why we're doing something. you do some research. You don't just resign your job and then off you go. You need to know something about the industry that you're entering. You need to know something about why I would want to do this business. How am I going to impact the world, and how am I going to make a difference? And then the fear almost disappears, because now you know why we're doing it, and you have a more purposeful decision that you're making. And it's when you start chasing money that I think fear sets in. But when you set out to make a difference or an impact on people's lives, then there's no reason to really have fear. And obviously weigh up the pros and cons. What's the worst that can happen? What's the best that can happen? What's the likely thing that can happen? And then base your decision on to that. But I guess, to me, I'm lucky over the years, I don't even listen to that little fear voice in our head, because that's all it is. It's just like this voice. It's supposed to protect you, and it's supposed to show you out all the things that can go wrong. But then it's up to you to silence that voice and then make a decision. Yeah, anyway. A lot of women at events ask me, where can they find a mentor? Do they need a mentor? Is it important? I believe you're meant, any conversation with someone, you learn something, and each person has the opportunity to learn and have a mentor in any other person. Once you go seek that person, what do you believe?
I think mentors are incredibly important. I think this is one of the areas that men are maybe better than women again. I think women should really be going to more networking events. They should be joining more entrepreneurial associations. They should be finding a mentor, absolutely. And if you can't find a mentor, a business coach, or a life coach, someone who you are really going through the intricacies of your business and your challenges with. If we look at Running Gil again, we use Gil as an example. He had an incredible mentor, and I think that experience has affected him profoundly, because he is now becoming a mentor for a lot of different entrepreneurs. He's paying that forward. And if he has the kind of impact on them that his mentor had on him, they will all become successful and become mentors themselves. And there's definitely, we see that there's an ecosystem amongst entrepreneurs, and I do see it more in our male entrepreneurs than our female entrepreneurs. So that is something that I would encourage any woman to absolutely go out and find a mentor. And like you said, anyone you speak to can be, so be involved in networking sessions, have a women's circle, for want of a better word, but you need someone who you are talking through your challenges with, and who can say to you and call you out and say, that's not a good idea, or why are you thinking along those lines, and talk me through this a little bit more. Have you looked at it from this angle? I think that's essential.
Yeah. I have a couple of coaches that helping me in different aspects of business progress, and growth. So I'm a total, I do
that.
Yeah. We dealt with failure and disappointment. How do you stay motivated?
So this is going to sound a bit ridiculous. I stay motivated by staying motivated. I think personal self-motivation is key. I don't think you should rely on anyone else to do it for you. I think you are the driving force behind your own success. So when I wake up in the morning, it's up to me to just actually put a smile on my face. And it's amazing how just that simple act of choosing to be happy and productive today makes you happy and productive. I think there's incredible power in positive thoughts and approaching situations from a positive angle, and that is what keeps you motivated. Sometimes if I feel a bit overwhelmed and stressed, I sit down and I write a list. I just need to organize my head a little bit, and then that's it. I can do this. Now I know what I'm going to overcome, and let's do it. And I'm not going to say it's as simple as that, but I do think it starts with ourselves internally and with a positive inner dialogue.
I couldn't agree with you more. I just have a question here that I quickly want to answer, where someone asked, how can I really want to use extra income to invest in real estate, and the opportunities offshore around 200,000 Rand in commercial. I would suggest you, the person who asked the question, go to wealthmigrate.com, sign up on the portal. You can have a look at the offers, and speak to someone there that will be able to take you through the opportunities available. What Migrate has been really progressive into reducing the entry level into real estate offshore investments to as little as, I think currently it's $10,000. So that should be within your budget of 200,000 Rand. But this is not a question, this is a different discussion. But contact Wealth Migrate and they will definitely take you through through their opportunities. I have another question. Let me just quickly see here. Sorry, I just want to quickly see how I do this. There was one, Nadine, how to deal with competition. I don't know exactly what the person want to know. How does the entrepreneurs you deal, how do they deal with competition?
So I'll answer this from two different. So if it's internally in a corporate situation and you're talking about someone who is competing for your role or another role or for promotion, I think it's a lot of how you look at it. So competition is a good thing. Competition can only ever make you be a better version of yourself. I would say that the best thing, and everyone should be doing this, is just be as open and transparent and as you as possible. You need to trust in yourself. You need to trust in your own skills. You know, from an entrepreneurial perspective, very smart entrepreneurs surround themselves with very smart people. They're not trying to hire individuals who aren't as good as them. They know that the best thing they can possibly do is to hire other smart people, so that's what they do. So I would say that, you know, you should treat everything like that. In a business environment, competitors aren't great, obviously, but they give you the opportunity to raise your game constantly. Yeah. And within a corporate environment, I would say it's the same thing. So embrace competition. Look at it as a challenge to be the best version of you, and then go out and do that.
I wouldn't tell you
and don't do it by tearing other people down.
Say again?
Don't do it by tearing other people down.
Yeah, you're right. So I just quickly want to talk some feedback. What I think there's a Glossier magazine has written on, and
Hilda, I'm losing battery power.
We'll finish in another 10 minutes. And
I don't think my battery's in the last 10 minutes. So I don't know if you want to talk and I can go run and get a power cable.
Sure, let's do that.
Okay. So I'll be right back.
Okay. So last year magazine and what they call the age barrier, the silent revolution of women who doing things at ages unheard of, like Helen Mirren is still the sexiest woman at the age of 70. All of these things that's different. So I was featured in this magazine, and what I've done is I've looked at the traits of these women achieving things, and something common that I found through all of them was they take care of themselves first. You cannot take care of others, your family, your business, unless you take care of yourself first, your health, your wellness, your well-being. We the next huge priority on family, on their relationships, and it's so that's carrying through. They have ways of managing their stress. They live a purpose-driven life, so it's not just about having a job, but about finding our purpose. And they're truly dedicated to learning, to become better, and to learn what it is to learn. And just through that, I found another thing I think is really very important for us to understand. The literacy in the 21st century will not be the ones that can't read and write, the ones that can't learn new skills, unlearn old and learn. So your ability to learn as a person, as a woman, is probably the most important quality that you can have. I just want to quickly go through this question. think we can answer. Some is for me personally that I can't, that I just want to quickly see here that I will answer these ones separately. Okay, I think we've answered. There's some general questions that I think we've already answered. The other ones we will get back to people that just asked the questions. So I think it's time, just from a wrapping up, I just want to share my 5 me for successful life, what I've learned, and it's 5 tips from Nadine. And the last 5 things from me is, to live a successful life, you need to understand what success means to you. Nobody else, every one of us have a different definition of success. It's okay, and then you create a world of your definition of success. Stop making excuses. The stories we tell ourselves of the reasons why we can't do things are very often the things that hold us back from achieving that successful life. Blaming excuses is just something that I don't allow myself and don't tolerate. Find your purpose. I think it's Oprah Winfrey in one of her video sessions that said, if you don't know your purpose in life, you have to stop whatever you're doing and do the work in finding your purpose. Gratitude. You know, if you can't be grateful for the small things that you have in life and grateful for the little things every day, you definitely cannot be grateful for the big things that comes. The small little things every day add to the big things. So I make an effort of consciously being grateful every morning, every day, for the things that I have and that I've achieved or set out to do for that day. And then I believe you have to give back. That, you know, that what you give, you shall reap. And just the energy of giving back, you already get a lot more. Those are my 5 things for successful life. Nadine, we'll go through. Sorry, there's your slide. Do you want to just take people through yours?
Sure. So for me, I've always been a big believer that success is what you make it. You know, we all, like you said, and I love that, and I completely agree with that. We all have different markers of success, and I think we all need to stop looking at our neighbors and trying to emulate theirs and figure out what our own is. You know, what's going to make us happy. And then that leads me to the second one, which is live up to your definition of success. So know what it is, and then actively pursue and make goals of how you're going to get there. You know, it's all fine and well if you have this vague notion of something in the background, but you don't understand why it's not happening and why you're not achieving anything, but you haven't actually taken the time to sit down and put your goals on paper and know what you're actively pursuing. I think it's incredibly important to be kind to ourselves and to those around us. I don't think success is worth having if you're leaving a trail of bodies in your wake. And I also just think that kindness is something that is a bit lacking in everything we do in the world. Live life with abundance. I think the two are tied together. But if you look at everything with abundance and you think that I can give more because it's going to come back, I think it's a great way to look at energy and replenishing energy. That the more you give, the more you can receive. And then my big one is train your inner voice to be positive. This is something, and I've done a lot of research into it, that you really can train your inner voice to be positive. You can pay attention to the way you're thinking about things and the way you're looking at things, and you can stop yourself and think, okay, what is the positive way of looking at this? And the more you do that, the more you will naturally start becoming a more positive person. And I personally think good things happen to positive people. So.
Is that a law of attraction, they say? Hey.
Exactly, yeah.
Thank you so much for joining me today, Nadine. I just want to leave everybody with the last, sorry, just get there, with the last message that wealth isn't how much money you have, but wealth is what's left after your money is gone. So, you know, we always think wealth is about money and success is about money, but a healthy life lived in abundance and positiveness creates a lot more than just money. So just always remember that. So I think we've come to the end of it. There's no more new questions that I can see right now. If I missed out on your questions, I'll try and answer them afterwards. So thank you so much for your time, Nadine. It was amazing talking to you and sharing your words of wisdom. I just want to remind everybody that next week I'll be talking to my dear friend Hannah Marie, and I will show you my best life blueprint. And we'll talk about the structures and all those boring stuff women think their husbands are going to do for them. And I want to make my message here is it's the stuff you need to also know, you know, and not just wait for someone else. Why you should have structures, why you should know about it. I also want to ask people to log on to my website, to sign up for the newsletter. After each of these webinars, we'll be sending out a little summary of lessons learned and learnings, and share and start the conversation, continue the conversation, and you know, everybody makes a difference in their lives. Thank you so much for attending. Thank you for the people that's watching the recording of this, and we hope we make a difference. Thank you so much, Nadine.
Thank you.
Thanks. Hope you have fun. Okay. Bye.
Wonderful. Thanks, Hilda.
Bye. Stop.